Welcome back to Unwell Tales, the channel where we dive deep into the stories most people are too afraid to whisper about. Tonight's tale takes us to one of the most famous and supposedly untouchable buildings in the world, the White House. But even in its marble halls and secure corridors, the shadows have a way of crawling out, making themselves known to the most powerful figures alive. This is the chilling story of a haunting inside the Oval Office, one that tormented President Donald Trump. The Oval Office has long been described as a place of power, a chamber where the weight of the nation presses down on whoever occupies the desk. Yet, for centuries, rumors have lingered. Whispers of cold drafts, phantom figures, and echoes of footsteps that never belonged to living men. By the time President Trump walked into that historic room, he didn't just inherit the responsibilities of the presidency. He inherited the ghosts. It began quietly. On late nights, when the building had gone still, he'd hear faint creaks in the wooden floors, as though someone were pacing just outside the Oval Office doors. Security would be called, but no one was ever found. The first few times, it was easy to dismiss. An old building, shifting with age. But then, the noises grew more deliberate. One evening, as the lamps glowed dim across the office, Trump reportedly felt the air shift, the temperature dropping until his breath came out in faint mist. He described the sensation as if someone had walked straight through me. From the corner of his eye, he saw movement, a shadow sweeping across the carpet toward the resolute desk. When he turned his head, there was nothing but silence, heavy and pressing. Over the weeks, the disturbances escalated. Papers on his desk would shuffle as though an invisible hand brushed across them. The curtains would sway despite the windows being sealed shut. And in the dead of night, faint whispers, low, strained, unintelligible, would drift from the corners of the Oval Office. He would strain to make out the words, but they melted away like smoke before they could be understood. Sleep became impossible in the White House. Staff reported he began requesting lights to be left on in the West Wing after dark, something no president had done before. Guards patrolled the corridors in silence, yet many admitted later they, too, felt something watching them. Something just beyond the edge of their vision. But the most unsettling encounters came when he was alone. Occasion, he awoke in the Lincoln bedroom, heart pounding, just a yawning, pitch-dark hallway stretching into silence. Yet, when he returned to bed, the knocking continued. This time, inside the walls themselves, reverberating in steady, deliberate rhythm. In the Oval Office itself, Trump claimed he once saw a man. The figure stood near the fireplace, tall and lean, dressed in what appeared to be black, formal clothing, a style belonging to another century. His face was obscured, but the presence radiated dread, filling the air with a heaviness so thick it made him sick to his stomach. Before Trump could call for help, the figure vanished into the shadows of the room, leaving only the faint smell of old smoke lingering. The staff grew uneasy. Some whispered it was Lincoln, still restless, wandering the halls he once knew. Others believed it was something older, something tied to the land beneath the White House long before it was ever built. building had been burned, rebuilt, and soaked in centuries of turmoil. Who's to say the walls weren't stained with the energy of the dead? Night after night, the disturbances continued. The Oval Office grew colder, darker, more suffocating. Trump himself admitted that some nights he could feel a presence behind him as he worked, an icy breath against his neck, though he was alone in the room. He once described it as like being hunted by something you couldn't see. And then came the whispers. One evening, while signing documents at his desk, the room fell eerily silent. From behind, a voice, a deep, raspy murmur, called his name. Not once, but 3 times. When he spun around, he was met with empty air. Yet, he swore the hairs on his arms stood still up, and the echo of that voice lingered long after it was gone. The haunting left its mark. Some say he avoided the Oval Office late at night altogether, choosing instead to retreat elsewhere. Others believe the constant tension, the sense of being watched, eroded his composure, leaving him restless and short-tempered. Staffers reported hearing doors slam without cause, lights flicker, even after maintenance, and the faint sound of a piano playing somewhere in the distance. Even though the White House piano was untouched, the White House has always been haunted, but the Oval Office is its heart. Those who have stood in that room carry the weight of history, both living and dead. And if the stories are true, then President Trump did not sit alone at that depth. Whether you believe this haunting was real, or just the stress of power playing tricks on the mind, one thing is certain: the White House will never be just bricks and mortar. It is a vessel of history, tragedy, and secrets that refuse to die. And for one president, the Oval Office was not a sanctuary of power. It was a chamber of whispers, shadows, and things that go unseen. Thank you for joining us tonight on Unwell Tales. If you felt a chill listening to this story, imagine walking those halls in the dead of night. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share so you don't miss our next descent into the darkness. Until then, keep your lights on. And remember, some stories are unwell for a reason.